trying to give Jigs a minute, but. Okay, we have a quorum, so I will call the meeting to order of the special meeting of the BEllOWS Village Trustees. It is now 5 o'clock on May 19th, and my apologies for any errors that you were seeing on the website. We're still working through the nuts and bolts of doing this on a regular basis, getting it onto the new website, which is slightly different and somehow confusing to many people, including myself. But we'll get there. 5 p.m. and let's see, I'll call meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting? Have we anything? Doesn't sound like we do.
Just no.
Thank you. Approve the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, we have no minutes to approve. We'll do them at the regular meeting when that happens in June. Public comment. Anyone? I have to look around.
Please, pardon me.
Right, did you have, and you have too? So, okay, so Bob, did you have comments?
Yeah,
Right.
Can I do this without offending anybody?
Certainly.
We're sitting more than 6 feet away from each other, right?
I hope so, I'm trying.
That's why I'm at the ready, so that.
Okay. I am here and I'm planning to go to the select board with the very same concern. I've made enough inquiries that I know what I saw on Facebook is fundamentally accurate. 3 town employees, one with over a quarter of a century of experience, was told, thank you, but we can't do it right now. There's a door, let me open it wide for you. This causes me some problem. Number one, I disagree with the action, and I realize we can debate that all day. But I really have a problem with is how it was done. Was it done openly? Were all trustees, was there an action?
This was
Well,
3 town employees, Bob. Just understand that. We had no control over that.
okay, I was told you were part of the decision and you were involved.
They're town employees, so no active participation, no, at all.
Okay, well, still want you to hear me. It applies. It may not apply to this, it applies to the future. I don't like backroom dealings. I've lived in BEllOWS since 1995. I may have seen more than 1 or 2. That's not what I hope government is about these days. That's not what I hope it's about going forward. And so my major critique is I wish that you would think that you personally, you institutionally, some thought would go into whether you really want to manage a form of government. It's not you, it's we. I don't think we do. We can't keep a manager. Why? I think there's a cycle that goes on. Very predictable cycle. Manager can't do his or her job because they aren't allowed to do their jobs. They're told what to do. No one's going to win with that. No one. I guess I will hold. The last person was a town hall employee, right? 2 people I knew, 2 of the 3 I knew. One of them I didn't, and he was not, the one male, he was not a village person, is that correct, employee?
None of them were village.
None of them were village. Okay. Perhaps I said enough for this board at this moment. I'm very concerned, and I can assure you, that I'm not going to assure anybody of anything. I personally vote all the time, and I don't like the feeling that I've got of what's going on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, did you say your name for the record?
Gina
Last name?
DeCampo.
Thank you. The secretary, the clerk has to take that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
I don't know where to bring it, who to bring it to. I've been a registered village voter for 19 years now. When I first moved here, we had a little bit of a drug problem. Wasn't too bad. I now live on Green Street, where I am surrounded by 3, not 1, but 3 houses that sell drugs within a 150-foot vicinity of my home where children play. This past summer in the Coda and Coda parking lot, we found drug needles, which is where a lot of our kids play. Then when we had Caesar, when these 3 houses did see him, he did make a difference. He makes a difference with his presence. They see him and they tend to walk away. It's to the point now where the neighborhood is joking that they're selling Girl Scout cookies because the windows go up and the drugs exchange hands and then they walk away. I do know that multiple officers in their own POVs have been out there trying to watch what is happening, but they're good at what they do, except they're not good enough because I can stand on my own front porch and I can watch it day, night, weekend, doesn't make a difference. We have a lot of kids in our neighborhood and it's very, very concerning. I would like to find a way to save Caesar, to bring him back to do the job that he's been doing. I personally know just from 3 articles I saw in the paper that he got about $100,000 off the streets just in 3 people being pulled over or arrested. So I'm a little confused of why the village voters like myself didn't get the option to keep Caesar and fight for our village and our village children. It's our kids that are gonna die. It's our kids that have died. It's our family members, and it's getting to be too much, and I'd like to do something about it. The PD and I have talked on how to best handle it, and now I'm bringing it to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Let's see, did anyone else have any comment?
Yes, Jim Mitchell. Jim Mitchell.
Go ahead.
Hi. I'm concerned about the drugs too, and irrespective of Caesar or not, the drugs have been here for a long time. And Caesar allowed these drugs on Barker Street. You know what I'm talking about. So don't say the dog did a good job when the boss allowed these drugs to be sold in this village. They knew damn well that there were drugs being sold on 4 Barker Street, Green Street, right here on Canal Street. My God, I have 3 drug houses. Why don't they do something about that? We hear how great the dog is. Yeah, I love the dog. I do not think that our chief did a good job for 14 years. That's why we have a proliferation of drugs. Change can't come soon enough. Enough with this searching. Let's get a chief that's going to clean this town up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. It looks like that's everyone publicly. Therefore, we will move on to the agenda, which considers just one particular item, which is the discussion of before, during, and after the performance of the Bellows Falls Police Department in connection with the funeral parade of 5/13/2020. I put it into 4 different categories. I wanted to make sure we cover each one independently and don't get confused on what actually happened. A, we'd like to know who issued the permit. I believe, who was the person to speak to about that? Would that be you, Shannon, Officer Bemis?
I can take that. We were not issuing permits for birthday parties or parades or things of that nature at the time because of the pandemic. So we were simply doing them on request. We've been doing kids' birthdays and things of that nature since the pandemic's hit. So we did not issue a permit.
There was no permit. Okay, therefore, there was no public advance notice. Therefore, who was approached concerning this issue?
The
Was that-
police department and the fire department. The fire department was approached, asked to participate, and the police department then got involved in chief and
Okay,
I became aware of it on Tuesday, the day before the event happened. We had received some information that was on Facebook, that it was going to happen. We had been asked if we wanted to coordinate with them on the event, and we agreed that we would. We saw some information there also that there would be burnouts and things like something like that. We made contact with the family, and told them that that absolutely could not happen, that we would not participate, and that we would shut it down if it did happen. And the organizers, family members that did that, agreed to that and said that no, none of that would be happening at the parade.
That was prior to the parade.
That was the day prior to it, yes.
Okay. Did any of the trustees have any other comments on these two items? Advance notice and permit, non-issue.
I would be curious to who spoke with the family prior to that 12th date?
I think the 12th was the date that
That's when you said that.
that I became aware of it. I believe that's the date that the family contacted the office.
Because it had already been, by the 8th, it had already been advertised.
Well, on social media.
And within the advertisement, it was explained that they were going to be escorted. So somebody had spoken, there was.
They had asked the fire department to chaperone or, go with the parade as they've been doing for other events since the pandemic.
Okay, so the fire department knew prior to the 8th, and then the police.
I can't guarantee that. Sean left actually on an emergency call.
Yep.
He should be back.
But I know that I knew about it on the 12th, and then I'd heard that there was thing, and I didn't see the social media, but I had heard that, and that's when we made the call to the organizers, the family members, and said that this could not happen, and this could not, we would not participate in that, and we would shut it down if that was going to happen. And they assured us that it would not and was not going to happen.
Anyone else on these two items? Stephen, Jigs, did you have anything on that?
No. Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
the family posted this on my page on the 11th. Both parties posted it. I sent it to Chief Bemis and said they're going to be doing this and this. That was on the 11th, 2 days before the procession. So somebody is not telling you the truth.
Okay, so I want to clear it up with Jonathan. You meant it wasn't really advertised. It was sort of posted on social media.
Yeah.
Right. Just so we're clear, nobody paid for an ad in the paper. This is social media post. Okay. So then we get, if this is what we have so far, gets us to what actually occurred during the parade. Based upon videos that I was sent and have seen, it appears to me that the actions about which you're speaking were performed in front of at least one police officer in the Hetty Green parking lot, and yet the parade proceeded.
The information that I have, and I've talked to the officers, I've talked to some of the witnesses to this. They arrived at the funeral home in the area of 6 o'clock when the parade was going to take off.
The funeral home was not involved in this at all, right?
No,
But
but
it was at the park.
But it was yes, it was the Hetty Green parking lot.
Okay.
Yes. The officers arrived there at 6 o'clock. There were a lot of vehicles in that area when the officers arrived. They spoke to the people that were supposed to be organizing it. They spoke to some of the people that were there. One officer then left to go to the Atkinson Street and School Street intersection to direct traffic there. One officer went to the Red Light Hill intersection to direct traffic there. One officer was going to lead the procession. There was, to my knowledge, there was no spinning out or wheels burning at that time at the parade, at the start of the parade. There were, the vehicle proceeded, then there was a fire truck, and then other vehicles followed behind that. But everybody that I have talked to at the PD says that there was no burnouts, anything like that. at the start of the parade.
Well, if I may.
Yep.
I've had some individuals complain to me about it. Received a video. The video clearly shows the Bellows Falls police cruiser at the Hetty Green parking lot parked there, and I think if you,
Yes, look, if I can keep going, I think and I'll certainly, if I don't get it all in,
Yeah.
ask me and I'll let you know. The parade proceeded. The lead car did not know of any of these burnouts that were occurring behind him. Like I said, I
Yeah.
had an estimate of maybe 50 vehicles involved,
Yeah.
trucks, commercial vehicles, cars, were in this parade. It appears that there was burnouts in the area of PKs. If you look at the road, there are certainly burnouts there. There were then burnouts on Atkinson Street. The officer at Atkinson Street and School Street saw some of the going on after the front of the parade had passed. He attempted to, there were people on the sidewalks and other cars coming up to the direction. He tried to keep those separate and tried to speak to the vehicles that were coming down that he had seen prior to that, north of that intersection, acting badly, driving badly, starting parked vehicles, which is the legal term for it. He radioed in to the others that this was happening. The procession proceeded, and got back to the Hetty Green Park. The cruiser that you see in there were pulled in there. The other vehicles were pulling in there. Some, they say about half of the vehicles in the procession had came back to that location. Others had broken off once the procession had made Red Light Hill and had got back to the Hetty Green Park parking lot. That's when the issues arose. The officer that there called for backup, asked the other officers to get there when they can, because there were a group of people there burning out, making, being disorderly and destructive in their vehicles going through there. We had one officer there at the beginning. We then got a second officer there. The one from the School Street intersection got there, and then the other officer was able to get there. They stopped one vehicle that night. They broke up the group. There was a group of people gathered there out of their vehicles. They broke that up. The people that they were interacting with were not cooperative or happy to be there with them, or to be told, you cannot do this, you need to leave.
right,
And they broke it up from there. So yes, there was a cruiser there. There was one officer there. He was doing what he could until the other officers could. We issued one ticket that night. It was the only vehicle that had been doing that we could stop at that point in time. After reviewing videos, we have at least 3 others that we have issued tickets to, that we have mailed the tickets to. We have 2 other vehicles that we have not been able to identify the driver and the plate number, but we're still looking at the videos that are coming in and going through it. It was not a good situation. Nobody wanted this to happen. It was a disrespect to the young man that died in a tragic circumstance.
Anyone else from the trustee board have any comment on this?
Well, I also feel it's a disrespect to our roads. You
Absolutely.
know, they look horrible,
Yes.
and there's basically nothing we can do to fix it, to get rid of it, unless we chip seal again to cover over it.
It was a bad situation. If you could have, we would have We would have absolutely prevented it. If we had called in 6 or 8 officers that, you know, were not on a post and not leading the event, we may have been able to have stopped it and been heavy-handed. The whole incentive to the situation of how the young man died, we certainly did not want this, try this, approve of this. We certainly did not.
Right.
And we are still investigating it to find out the people involved.
I didn't say it was a very nice tribute.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, John.
I don't even know where to begin on the amount of things that didn't happen right, people that didn't do their job. I mean, first off, I would go through and I would actually look at the video, because there's multiple videos that I've seen that people have sent to me that show 2 police cruisers side by side, one of them with the door open while this is going on. Whether it was before or after, it doesn't matter. There was no plan, wasn't authorized. It wasn't a funeral procession, because the definition of funeral procession is the movement of a body from a memorial service to place of interment. So to begin with, even the use of personnel and equipment wasn't even properly authorized or dealt with. There was no plan. Obviously, there was plenty of notice about what was going to happen, and no action by the police department at that time to do anything. And I find it really hard to believe that whoever was leading the parade couldn't hear what was going on only 100 yards behind them and put a stop to it then. Or when it was happening at intersection of School and Atkinson Street, that it wasn't stopped then. Or that it wasn't addressed when it was back at the Hay Green parking lot, which is actually a town road, not a parking lot, it has a PH designation. That it wasn't converged on and dealt with then. Because the result of that is what you see in the parking lot now and what you see around town. The other result of that was was walking my dog and I happened to see several sets of cars drag racing down School Street. Well, I mean, they came out, lined up, and drag raced side by side down School Street back. There was a set of a car, and then about 40 seconds later, there was a set of trucks first, and then cars. And I don't know who was the officer in charge at the time, but no leadership at that point from that person, I would assume, because this all happened, and it wasn't until the complaints started coming in the next day from residents about the actions. No, people not stopping for the crosswalks, being cut off at stop signs, just, you know, the noise, the tire smoke. And now we're in a situation where there's no positive outcome coming out, right? Because there's no situation that resolves what's going on in a manner that's going to be acceptable to everyone. So my question is, who takes responsibility? And what do we do moving forward? Because this is just another black eye on the police department in my
Certainly, we have put a hiatus on any even birthday parades that were not scheduled. We did a couple on last Friday that were scheduled, but we've stopped that. Absolutely, it could have been planned out better, should have been planned out better, and we understand that. And something like this will not be going on again without certainly our participation from the very beginning and understanding that this just can't happen. That this situation can happen. And more officers should have probably been there. Although that would include calling them in and adding.
Well, no, the first, it should have been told they needed a parade permit. And within the parade permit, the detail is discussed, the guidelines are discussed, that outlines the plan for what is needed and for what it's gonna cost to bring officers in to deal with the detail.
That's correct.
Right?
It gives guidance so that people don't have the opportunity to pull that.
There's a reason why we have these things.
In of the 50 cars, we have, and we've looked at a lot of videos, we have found 6 that we have seen that have been breaking the law of the many that were there. And we are trying to deal with that, and we were trying to deal with it that night. Did stop cars. The officers at the scene at the Hetty Green were trying to break up and stop people from doing what they were doing. The groups that were there that were not, like I said, not pleasant to or cooperative with us.
Well, it's disturbing when you get people that contact you and say, don't you have any police anymore in your village? I was contacted from people from Walpole, Charlestown, Westminster, Grafton. And that's the impression they get. Also, people talking about the drag racing. Fortunately, it didn't turn out worse, meaning if there was a kid playing on that street that got ran over or a car had rolled over and there'd been a fatality or an injury, it doesn't put us in the best of light.
Doesn't put any, absolutely. I mean, like I said, this was no way to honor that young man that passed away. And
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense that even in the pandemic, we stopped issuing permits. Permits are available on the website. They're available to send over to email a request to town hall personnel. There isn't any reason why we stopped doing it. The reality is the rules required to perform a proper parade or a permit to have a funeral procession or whatever, if that's what they wanted to do, would have given them some guidance. So you give them a preemptive strike. You don't let them think that they can just do whatever. On Facebook, there was a lot of social media. It was talked about way back, I think on the 8th or whatever, that you can make as much noise as you want with your vehicles, you can be as loud as you want. But that's not the reality. That's not true in our community. And it's disrespectful to everyone who pays taxes for the things that happen. The abuse of our police department dealing with this, and on the other side, I would have said, as soon as you see that happen, I would have stopped the parade. We're done. It's over. We expect our police department to be able to control them, and I don't know at what. And now, because of being told that the sequence of events and what happened when may not have been something that the police were aware of at the beginning of the parade, I can't say for sure if you could have stopped it at the very beginning, but as soon as it's seen, and going down the hill and you see someone's white smoke blowing, someone can't not see that or smell that or hear that in a police cruiser. I just do not believe that part. So I'm very upset at how this whole thing happened. Going forward, I would say we should never ever issue any parade forms of any kind without a permit, and that this clearly understood the behavior is a
Do you find enough to eat?
Excuse me?
Oh, good.
I'm not
So
sure.
that was fun.
Mute that person, please. But as far as moving forward, it's just a black eye for the community. It's a black eye for our
Yeah.
police department. And since
Yeah, I've
that,
been doing a little more of that myself.
since that has happened, I have had more than 3 people stopping in front of my house, screeching out and making more noise because I've had the audacity to say something on my Facebook page as a village trustee that this is inappropriate and will be handled, will be talked about. Moving forward, we can't handle that. We don't want our community members deciding when they are going to tear up our roads, which we are not totally responsible for. That's a town function. I've already spoken to Everett Hammond about what to do about that parking lot. According to him, those 2 parking spots actually belong to the bank, and they can force us to the town to do something about them if they can actually be fixed. Or if they're just gonna wait till they wear out.
There's no excuse in any event where you come and you damage people's property or municipal property.
Yep.
You know, the call I got today was from a woman from Grafton.
Madam Chair.
Can you let the trustee finish and then I'll.
And the quote unquote was the lawlessness in your town. That's the impression that an outsider has, and well, a person that grew up here too. It's a disappointment.
It's not a situation that we take lightly in any sense of the word, and we are absolutely enforcing. If we see people drag racing, if we see people burning out, they're stopped, they're ticketed.
Do you not see it as a failure of your police officers not doing anything?
From what I have gathered from the officers that were there that night, that they had a difficult situation in the parking lot itself there, trying to deal with the people that were there. That's.
But prior to that, I would take a serious look at the pictures and the videos, because you're gonna see evidence that your police officers prior to that point were witness to the action and
Didn't take action.
And that, to me, that's someone not doing their job. They're sworn duty, actually, right? Derelict of duty, dereliction of duty, maybe?
Well,
I mean,
it like the officer on the post on School Street and Atkinson Street. He had, and I discussed this with him, that when he saw the vehicles that were acting out, he had pedestrians there that he was having issues with keeping them back. Other vehicles that were trying to come in from the south and from School Street that weren't involved in this. And I said, could you pull them over? Could you have stopped the vehicles that were doing it? And he said, not safely for himself or the pedestrians there, that he couldn't. There was one vehicle in particular that he had seen acting this way. And he was not able to do that on a foot post at that point in time. And it was a fluid situation that got out of hand badly, and we know that. And
I'll be honest with you, I don't think it got out of hand. I think the police officers get out of hand. That's, I mean, it was led by the police department. It was,
That's the impression.
you know, that's the office that most people are looking at it now. So just to let you know what the representation of that night reflects on not only the village and the village police department, also reflects on the fire department too. However, the fire department was smart enough to break off when it started to happen and put the truck back in the firehouse. Yeah, the first one. The last one couldn't, but knew what was going on. And attempted, and
one in the real service, yes.
If I may, Mr. DeRosa.
Please. My ignorance, when there's a parade permit issue, who pays the cost of the police officers is the question. And then shortly, I'll give you the follow-up. Why shouldn't if they don't, why shouldn't the applicant be paying something for public safety? Why shouldn't it be the chief's determination based on his experience, the nature of the community, the time of day, many variables, how many officers he needs to call in? Those officers should be paid for, in my opinion, by the parade permit. There's a good chance, it looks to me from budgets, that there's going to be less police on duty next year than there are this year. So who pays for public protection, if you will?
Yeah, what's the answer to that, Shannon? You know that?
That's
Ms. Leanne, you know that answer.
I don't know.
so in the parade permit guidelines, pretty easy to look this up. For the parade permit, the applicant pays, sorry. The applicant would pay.
But the payment is never commensurate with anything we saw out there
Then
tonight.
there
There was was no permit, so there was no $5
Right.
permit. It's negligible.
Which-
But the applicant would pay for any services that were needed to be rented.
Yes.
Right?
But that's all
It's
moved
just-
now from
it
this
does
one.
just like the alumni parade. The alumni association parade pays for the police to
Right.
close the streets, to do all of that work.
I don't believe the
The
Alumni
thought
Association
is-
pays for
Just like a house closing,
That's interesting.
you put money in escrow. Why shouldn't the chief determine what he thinks
He needs.
it should cost, and then take 1.5, 1.5, put it in an account, and they get returned, he gets returned what he does not have to spend. Just a thought, but it seems like, I'm listening to the chief carefully, seems to me he's thoughtful, he cares, he's interested, but things just get out of hand. Rarely, I think, but these things will happen.
Yeah.
And the town cannot pick this up, especially if you're cutting budgets. Fees for services, good old concept.
The Alumni Association pays for the dance where there are officers.
So it's there, right.
But the parade itself, it does not.
Is a no, it's considered a contribution of the village portion to that event.
Right.
So only the dance do they pay.
I don't ever remember voting.
I don't think we did either,
We
but
would
that's
have
what, it's been
We-
best practice for years, It's something we're
I would
considering.
We would have to then vote.
Take a look at it.
Okay, look at it.
Ways, ages ago, so we've never voted on that. On charging for parade services and so on and so forth, and the alumni parade. It's worth bringing open, but it's been going on that way for many.
Well, we've discussed it in relation to other events such as Old Home Days, and I think there's a couple other, if I remember correctly. But
Yes.
so it's, it's not that it can't be brought up.
And I think we should, especially since now it's
Yeah.
gonna be tooled till September 25th.
And there was a time, I believe in the history, if I remember correctly, that the board decided on the permit. Then it changed over some time because of expediency or streamlining the process to where it went to
It's-
management or administrative.
If you read the ordinance, the board has the authority, and in the board's speed,
Yeah.
the manager can, and that is it. Now, the manager in the past has also allowed the chief of police to approve that,
Mhm.
just out of expediency, because they're
Right.
doing the organization for it
Right.
and needs to do the detail work. However, it's the board's authority to approve or not approve.
Right, so
Well,
we'll get it on an agenda.
that's why I bring it up, because I hate relinquishing any authority, and that's the way I am. Since I've been here, and I think,
Until this point, I didn't mind having the manager consult us and have the authority to do it, but after this point, I don't know.
Exactly, yeah, things need to change there.
I don't know that the proper details were followed anymore, and that it's just kind of do what we want.
yeah,
Another
point taken.
deficiency in leadership.
This is definitely a learning curve for all of us. There is one more item on the agenda,
Deb,
but yes,
with this, some of
Madam
the
President.
of the ordinance committee and looking over this and making sure, because there is an argument to say this can be tiered. A lot of these
Is it on?
very small and very restricted within
Is it on?
requests. I could see us just signing off, but the larger things such as this do need trustee review and
Yep.
approval.
yep, that's true. I mean, it wouldn't
Can we
hurt to have
remand
it
it
on
to
there,
that group?
but only so that they can review it, although I believe it's been reviewed and we thought it was fine, but. they-
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay,
So
so
we'll
if we bring
review-
something new to the
Refer to the
trustees,
ordinance and they'll forget it here,
are
right?
you all amenable to that?
And we'll bring it to. the
To an
board.
extent, depending on what the criteria of someone requesting the event,
I can't predict the ordinance committee.
No,
They
you're
might
right.
very well say, no, we're never gonna let the trustees sign off on this.
I'm gonna tell you, my impression of the committees that we appoint, that we
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
they're purely advisory to the
Yeah,
board. The
that's all.
board makes the final decision.
Agreed.
Right.
I don't wanna, I'm not gonna fence with you, Chuck, but I had this conversation with the previous administration as to, what the committees do and what the board, and again, I'm not willing to relinquish any authority, and this is probably, for lack of a better example, an example.
Of what
There's no
goes wrong.
daylight between us. You would get a more professional, well thought out, this is our best option. You could look at both and be, better prepared. And whatever you choose
No, all the
choose to do with that.
All the information is certainly welcome. The more information can make a better decision, but I've sat here, I sat on the select board too, where I've heard in reference to a revolving loan fund, well, committee said this, you guys did that. Well, you know what? Maybe there was a reason. Great, yeah.
Okay, again, we don't relinquish anything.
No.
We get a recommendation, we
Right.
can say no to that. There is another item on the agenda. It's the personnel rules, but I don't know if anyone was ready to do that because this is sort of not an emergency, but kind of an emergency. And we only have till 6 o'clock to vacate our room.
Next meeting.
Okay, so we should push it off to the next meeting, on the June meeting, for the trustees to deal with. Make sure you read those, see what we're going to agree to, because the town and the village have to sign off on that. There was one thing I meant to add to the agenda, which I did not, which is a brief executive session for the purpose of, oh God, where would it be? It's the employment one.
Personnel or administrative.
It's, yeah, the appointment or employment, would that be one of? Employment or evaluation. It's very brief. I doubt we'll take any action, but we need to say, but the village trustees need to hear something that we need to take action on. They need to take action on. And that would be without the manager, interim manager, acting manager, and without the finance director. We just need about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Do you want to make a motion?
sure, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
And I know I'll get spanked by the
Well-
Secretary of State for not adding it correctly, but
Is what it is in these times. I'll make the motion that the Board of Trustees enter into an executive session to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, where premature general knowledge may clearly place the municipality at a disadvantage. The public body would make it or must make a final decision or in an open meeting, explain its reasons for the decision under 1 VSA 313A and 3.
can I get a second? All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hi. Hey,
All right.
Deb,
Okay. Yeah.
am I gonna have to call in or?
You should go ahead and,
Yeah.
let me call you.